Hello everyone and welcome to this tutorial. In previous tutorial we have understood the business problem, and from this tutorial we will start to build our project. Open new tab here and search Google Colab. Open first link. Cancel this one. File, new notebook. This will open a new Python 3 notebook. It will take a little bit time. Great. To use this Colab notebook, first we have to connect. Click on connect. It will take a little bit time. Great. Now notebook is connected. First we have to give the name of the project. So I'll specify house price, or we can say house prices prediction. So this is the name of our Colab notebook as well as name of our project. Now click here, table of contents, create a new section. Part 1, data pre-processing. Add a text, dataset, copy the link of dataset and paste here. Now we have to start the data pre-processing. First we have to import the libraries and dataset. Add a subsection here, importing the libraries and dataset. Import numpy as np, then import pandas as pd, then again import matplotlib.pyplot as plt, and at the end import cbon as sns and execute. So here we are importing these 4 libraries: numpy, pandas, matplotlib and cbon. Here we are importing numpy to deal with arrays, we are importing pandas to deal with the dataset and data frames, and these 2 libraries, matplotlib and cbon, are the data visualization libraries. Now we have to import the dataset, and to do that first we have to upload this dataset to Google Colab notebook. Go here on files, then upload. This is the file that we have downloaded from kaggle.com. Upload this one. This file is uploading, you can see here. Great. This file is uploaded successfully in Colab. To read the file we have to use this method pd.read_csv, and in parentheses we have to specify the path and name of this file. So copy path and paste here and store all this in a variable dataset and execute. Great. So here we have successfully imported this file in Colab notebook. Now create one more subsection, data exploration. Type the name of dataset and after that head and execute. So these are the first few lines from our dataset. As you can see, there are total 81 columns and these are the first 5 rows. So this is our dataset. This is the last column, sales price. This will be our dependent variable and all other variables are the independent variables. In short, this is the target variable and all other variables are the independent variables. Let us check the shape of dataset, and to do that type this variable dataset dot shape 1460,81. That means there are total 1460 observations in this dataset and 81 columns. Add few cells. Let us check the column names. To do that type the name of dataset dot columns and execute. So these are the all columns in this data set. Let us check the information about this data set. Dataset dot, use the method info and execute. So this is the information about this data set. There are total 460 entries, indexes from 0 to 1459. Here you can see from 0 to 80. These are the indexes of columns. Let us see other details. Here you can see column names, then non-null values, and this is the data type. So there are three data types. Int 64 and float 64 are the numerical columns and the object is the categorical column. Now scroll down and add few cells. After seeing the information about the dataset, let us see the statistical summary. Type dataset dot use method describe. Execute. So this is the statistical summary about this dataset. This is the count 1460, then mean of all columns, then standard deviation, minimum value, maximum value, first, second and third quartile. Let us see the details about this column, sales price. Mean. So this is the mean 180921. Then maximum and minimum value. So this is the maximum value 755,000 and min. So this is the minimum value, this one 34900. So this way we can analyze the data using statistical summary. Let us move forward. Let us check the number of numerical columns and number of categorical columns in this data set. Type dataset dot select the types, then include int 64 and after that float 64 dot columns and execute. So these are the all numerical columns. We can check the length as well. So there are total 38 numerical columns in this data set. Let us check the categorical columns. We are using same code, this line, but instead of this int 64 and float 64, we have to specify object and execute. Copy this line. So these are the all categorical columns. Let us check the length. So there are total 43 categorical columns in this data set. These are the numerical columns. I'll just specify here also. Numerical columns. 43 categorical columns and 38 numerical columns. Total 81 columns. Add few cells. Great. After the data exploration, we have to deal with the null values. So add a subsection. Dealing with null values. Let us check if there are null values in this dataset or not. Type dataset dot is null. After that dot values, then any and execute. True. That means there are null values in this dataset. Let us check the number of null values in this dataset. Copy this line, paste, instead of any, use the function sum and execute. So there are total 6965 null values in this dataset. We can also check the number of null values in each column. To do that, copy this line, paste, and remove this values and execute. So this way we can get all the null values in each column. For example, in this column, lot frontage 259 null values. Let us move forward. Let us see the columns which has null values. Columns with null values. To do that, type name of the dataset dot columns. Here specify again dataset dot is null dot any. That's it, and execute. So these are the all columns with the null values. We can check the length as well. Check the length. So there are total 19 columns in this dataset which have the null values, and we have to deal with all these columns. Add a few cells. We can see the null values with the help of heat map also. Let us draw heat map. Null values with heat map. PLT dot figure. Specify the fig size. I'll specify 16,9. Then use cbon SNS dot. We have to draw heat map, and in parentheses dataset dot is null, and at the end plt dot show, and execute. Great. So this is the heat map. Let us analyze this heat map. As you can see, these are the dotted white lines. That means in this column there are null values. This column, this one, these two columns, these three columns, this column as well, and these all columns. So there are total 19 columns in this dataset which have the null values. So heat map is a great way to analyze the dataset. Let us move forward. Add a few cells. Check the shape of dataset again. Dataset dot shape. So there are total 1460 observations and 81 columns, and out of these 81 columns, 19 columns has null values. Now define a variable null underscore percent is equal to dataset dot is null dot sum, and this is divided by dataset dot shape. Specify index 0, and this is multiplied by 100. So we will get the percentage. Let us understand this. So here we are calculating the percentage of null values in each column, and to do that we are dividing total null values divided by total values in this dataset, and this is multiplied by 100. I'll just note it down here. Missing values, and this is divided by total values. And all multiplied by 100. So we will get the percentage. Execute. Great. Now check this variable null underscore percent. So here we can see the percentage of null values in each column. In this column, 17.73% are the missing values. Now we have to drop the columns which have percentage of null values more than 50%, and to do that define one more variable calls underscore to drop is equal to null percent is greater than 50 dot keys. I'll note it down here. Columns to drop more than 50% null values. Execute. Check this variable. Calls to drop. Great. So there are total 4 columns in this data set which have more than 50% null values. Let us drop these columns. Dataset dot drop columns. We have to specify these 4 columns. And redefine this dataset. Execute. Now check the shape of this dataset. (1460,77). Previously, let us check, 81 columns. Now there are 77 columns. That means we have successfully removed these 4 columns. Now add few cells. Let us check the number of columns with the null values. Scroll up. Copy this. Scroll down. Paste here and execute. Columns with null values. Let us check the length. 15. Now there are 15 columns in this data set which have null values. Previously it was 19. Out of these 15 columns, 3 columns has numerical values and 12 columns has the categorical values. So first we will deal with the numerical columns. Add column mean to numerical columns. I'll just paste numerical columns here. So these 3 are the numerical columns and we have to add column mean in these columns. Let us do that. Dataset, specify this column is equal to dataset, select this column dot, we have to use fill name method. In this method we have to specify the mean of this column. Dot mean. Let us understand this. So we are selecting this column, lot front edge, and here we are specifying the column mean instead of all null values. Now copy this line, paste, and one more time. Copy this column name, paste here. And for the third column, do the same. And execute. Now check the length of columns with null values. 12. That means we have successfully replaced all the null values with the mean of column. Now copy this line. Now we have to deal with the null values of categorical columns. Add text. Add column mode to categorical columns. Great. Let us check the categorical columns. Dataset dot select the types, then include the column type object dot columns and execute. So these are the all categorical columns. Let us check the list of columns with null values. Dataset dot columns, then dataset dot is null dot any and execute. Let us check the length as well. 12. So these 12 are the categorical columns which have null values. So these are the all categorical columns. To confirm these all columns are the categorical columns, we can compare these column names with the categorical columns. So these 12 are the categorical columns and they have missing value and we have to deal with these missing values. Now in the numerical columns, we have replaced all the null values with the column mean. But here in categorical columns, we have to replace all the null values with the column mode. I will just paste code here so it will save our time. So this is the code to replace all the null values in categorical columns. Let us understand this. So this is the column with categorical values and null values. Then we are selecting this column and we are using again fill NA method. And in this method we are specifying mode of this column. So here we are replacing all the null values in each categorical column by the mode. This one, mode, then index 0. That is most repeated value. And same for the all columns. So I'll just execute. Now check the length of the columns with null values 0. So here we have successfully dealt with all the null values in this dataset. Now scroll up, copy this line, then scroll down, paste and execute. False. That means now there are no null values in this dataset. Let us revise what we have done till now. So here we have started part 1, data pre-processing. First we have imported the libraries and dataset. Then we have done data exploration. Here we have seen information about the dataset. Then statistical summary about this dataset. Then these are the columns with numerical values, total 38 columns. And these are the columns with categorical values, 43 columns. And after that, we have dealt with null values. To deal with null values, first we have checked all the columns with null values. So there are total 19 columns with the null values. And there are total 4 columns which have null values more than 50%. So we have directly dropped these 4 columns. Now there are total 15 columns with the null values, out of which there are 3 numerical columns and 12 categorical columns. In numerical columns, we have replaced null values with the column mean, and in categorical columns, we have replaced null values with the mode of the column. So this is how we have dealt with all the null values in this dataset. So this is all about this tutorial. I will see you in the next one. Till then, happy learning.